Good evening.
Okay, so time is 4:30. So as per the schedule, let us start today's program. On behalf of MTC Global Family, I extend a hearty welcome to all the respected teachers of St. Patrick's Academy. I also extend my gratitude to the management of St. Patrick's for rolling out this program and welcome you all on board for certification program in phonetics. And we have with us a very renowned professor and expertise in this functional area of phonetics, Dr. Arun Behera sir, who is an associate professor in Satyasai Institute of Higher Learning, Bangalore. That's a very prestigious deemed university located in Bangalore, Kadguri area. So it's a great pleasure. And at personal level, I'm also looking forward to learn a lot of new things from Dr. Behera sir and also from all the respected teachers from their interactions. I also take the privilege to invite Dr. Paramita Chaudhuri, who is the principal of Lady Velankani English School, Vartur, Whitefield, and who is a co-trainer for today's program. And eventually, she is my wife also. So we'll share the same screen. We'll use the one laptop. I'll go off, and she will join you. And this program is getting recorded. And once the session is over, I'll share the recording also, YouTube link with all of you, so that you can always go through in your leisure time. Thank you so much once again, all the respected teachers, and for this particular program, the phonetics program. So let us not wait further, and I welcome respected the instructor or trainer or colleague, whatever name you call, Dr. Arun Behera sir, for taking forward the session. And sir is traveling, so no, I must just say a few words. Sir is traveling to Coimbatore, very busy. But I requested, no, once we have made the commitment to the teachers, and teachers are very respected. We all respect being a teachers, and we should keep the commitment. Anyhow, sir, you manage. Even you are traveling, so you can see that sir is there. So sir has agreed. So very kind of you, sir, for your consent and having difficulties. Still, you have agreed to come for the session. So it would be definitely a great learning session for all of you. And thank you so much, sir. So I hand over to you to take forward the session. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much for the nice introduction. I don't know whether I deserve that much. And it's nice to be associated with Professor Datta. It has been a nice experience all these months, almost about close to 2 years. And incidentally, MTC Global had recognized me as a reputed teacher and researcher. So thank you, sir. And welcome all my colleagues, all teachers. Thank you. Thank the management of the Patrick School for having allowed you to be a part of this program. We promise to deliver whatever you had expectations about. And ma'am, you are there? Dr. Paramita? All right.
Yes,
ma'am has joined.
Yeah,
hi, ma'am.
Yeah, hi. Very good evening. I'm sorry to interrupt you, sir. Very good evening to all the teachers here. Very nice to see you here. So hope that we can just meet up your expectations. So, sir, carry on, please.
That's right. Yeah. Please. So initially, I'll just run through some quick points, and in case we have anything specific to ask or discuss, or some more information about something, we will deliberate on them later. Once I run through these things quickly, that will I had shared the resources with you. The same things I'll be discussing now, and it's for about an hour or so. And during this interaction of for about an hour. We will try to, both Dr. Paramita and I will try to uh, discuss all the major points. Since it's a certification program, we will not be going into the details of phonetics. That's a vast area. We will not be delving deep into that. At the basic level, whatever is necessary for us to be to know about phonetics and how it helps us in teaching or in our profession, we will try to make an attempt to give you as much as possible that will equip us, all of us, with the basic knowledge of phonetics. And we also expect to learn from you. It's a mutual learning. Not that because we are on the other side of the fence, it's not that only it's our privilege to teach. We are also looking forward to learning from you. Right. And as a teacher, I always believe in the philosophy of learning, knowledge sharing, and all those. So whatever I know, I'll share with you. Whatever you know, you can share with me, and we will mutually benefit. All right. Let's get going then. Uh, before at the outset, let me talk about, because it's a scary thing when people tell it's phonetics, it's something, it's phonology, it's phoneme. People maybe find it scary. It's not as scary as it looks. And I'm not telling it from the perspective of my own experience, because I have done it through maybe 30 years or so. It's not that. Even ordinarily also, it's not as scary as it looks. And for that matter, most of the things don't look as scary. Professor Datta had offered a couple of programs recently, CDT and CCC. They also looked scary. Counseling, I didn't know anything about that, but I managed to scrape through that, and I cleared the test. So that's how. Let's start then. Uh, Introduction already Professor Datta has given, so I don't need to introduce myself. That's a good thing, because introducing oneself is a difficult proposition. Now, phonetics as a term is derived from the Greek word phone, which means sound or voice, whatever that comes out of our lungs. Most of the By the way, all the sounds, most of the sounds, they come from the lungs, especially human sounds. Other animals also create sounds, but then there's a fundamental difference between human sounds and other sounds. Human sounds, because there's a pattern, discrete sounds, and you can find a pattern, you can predict, you can combine them together to form a word, or even assign a meaning to it. But in an animal, for instance, a dog barks, or a parrot talks, by the way, that talks within quotes, or a monkey does something, they are not sounds similar to human sounds, because you cannot assign a pattern to them, you cannot assign a meaning to them, which is why when I say sound, it means only human sound. And most of the sounds, barring a few, they come out from the lungs. When we inhale the air, we inhale, that fills our lungs with air, and when we exhale, keeping the oxygen, which is what we need for our life and sustenance, the other air, whatever air minus oxygen, that comes out again through the uh, system, through the mouth. So all the lungs, and then from the lungs, and then up to the lips, and that's where we generate sounds. And each of these sounds is a unique one, is an independent one. We cannot mix one with the other. If we mix, if we interchange, if we replace one sound with other, that will create another word, that will result in another word. We call them minimal pairs. So let's say pin, pin, pin. If you replace the p with a sound like, let's say, ba, for instance, that becomes bin. And pin and bin are two different words. Or pin and pit, pin, pin, and then pit, for instance. Now, again, they are two different words. If you replace one sound by another, that will make a hell lot of difference, and they will result in different words. And phonetics is the study of the human speech sound. All the sounds that we produce, all of us produce, and there's a pattern, there's a rule, and there are sequences, there are norms. So all these sounds that we produce, if we organize them together, when you club them, put them together, combine them together, and make a systematic study, that is what is called phonetics. And there are, of course, various properties of phonetics. Let's say articulatory, whatever we articulate, whatever we speak. Now, all of us as teachers, we have to speak a lot. When students ask questions, we have to respond to them. We teach them. We talk a lot, and all those things are articulatory. They are part of articulatory phonetics. Auditory is when we listen to somebody, and then say, "Did you say this? Did you mean that? I didn't get you or get you." Uh, when we say that, that is auditory. So we listen to somebody's sound, somebody's speech, and then make sense of what he or she is telling, and then say, "Did you say this? Did you mean this? What did you say? I heard it like this." So those are auditory. Articulatory is when we produce. Auditory is when we listen to somebody or something. And then there is acoustic. When in a hall, in a theater, or in an auditorium, when somebody gives a talk, or some play is being played, or some theater or a movie is being played, there you have acoustics. The walls are all around the walls, and the ceilings and the floors, they are fitted with some specific material, wooden and some other material, and they absorb the sound and noise, and cancel the noise, in fact, to a large extent, so that it gives us a smooth noise, a smooth sound, and that's what is acoustic. And all these things are part of spoken language, spoken in this case, spoken English. Uh, not that other languages are different, or spoken, let's say spoken Telugu or spoken Hindi are different from spoken English. When we speak, a language has all the characteristic features of a language, including English and any other language. Only thing is, when you talk of grammar, there are some norms. In English, for instance, we talk of SVO, subject, verb, and object, in that order. In our other languages, vernacular languages, say for instance, Telugu or Tamil or Hindi or Odia or Bengali, the languages, the pattern is different. We say we watch movies. We is subject, watch is verb, and the movies is object. In Hindi, for instance, हम movies देखते हैं. Now we is subject, movies becomes that's the object that comes next, and then verb comes later. So in English it is SVO. In Hindi and other regional vernacular languages, it becomes SOV, and that's a fundamental difference as far as grammar is concerned. As far as sound is concerned, or phonetics is concerned, they're almost similar. We don't have much, of course, with regard to sound. There would be, because in Odia, for instance, we have jaw, for instance, when we say Jew, or when we say jolly, judge, or when we say pleasure. There are three kinds of jaw. In English, we have two, right? We have two. We have judge, and in English we have three. In Odia, we have two. Or similarly, saw and saw, we have two in Odia or a Bengali. In English we have two. So that's how there are differences in terms of sounds, in terms of phonetics. And phonology is concerned with the selection and organization. When you select sounds, individual sounds, organize them, put them together, make a pattern, find some norms, find some similarities, then phonology comes into play. And we need to study phonetics. It's necessary for us to study phonetics because it helps us to pronounce words, especially English words, correctly. So when I say it's sin, S-I-N, sin, and somebody else hears it as shin, S-H-I-N. Now there's a whole lot of difference, because S-I-N, sin, is different from S-H-I-N, shin. Similarly, if somebody said meal, M-I-L-L, and M-E-A-L. Meal is when we eat something, lunch or a dinner. Did you have your meal? And meal is a cotton meal, for instance, or rice meal. So that's M-I-L-L. That's a short E, and this is a long E. So in addition to helping us in pronouncing words correctly, phonetics also helps us develop our fluency and accuracy. So how accurately you pronounce a word, or how clearly you pronounce sounds, and that determines the clarity and the accuracy, so that the other person, including a native speaker, we are not only talking of somebody who speaks English as a second language or a foreign language, including somebody who speaks or uses English as a native language also. They also will not find it difficult, will not find it odd, that okay, what is this guy telling? I didn't follow a single syllable of what he said, what he or she said. So if our pronunciation is correct, if our pronunciation is as per the lines, as per the norms that's prescribed by phonetics, then no getting to understand what we mean or what we say will not be difficult for any listener, including a native one. All right, it's going good. All right. When we speak, when we pronounce the sounds, when we speak, when we start using when we start phonetics, when we start using phonetics to speak or to use in a class or anywhere, including in a meeting and all those, there are two things that are those are important. One is voicing. Now, when we pronounce, when we speak, the sounds that come out from our lungs through the uh, windpipe, and then through the mouth cavity, oral cavity, and then teeth ridge, and then lips. Finally, the lips or nose. They can be either or and. If the sound comes only through the lips, the nasal cavity is blocked, it's oral sounds. If it comes only through the nose and the oral cavity is blocked, it's nasal sounds. When both are open, both nostrils are open and nasal cavity is open and oral cavity is also open, then they are nasalized sounds. So both this is how we produce sounds. And the sounds are, they may be voiced or voiceless, depending on the position of the vocal cords. That's a vocal folds here. This is what we call vocal folds behind Adam's apple. In fact, there are two pipes. One is the windpipe and the other one is the food pipe. Food pipe is what we use to take food and drink water and all those, and vomit also. And windpipe is what helps us in using sounds, and then maybe bless somebody, curse somebody, sing a song, and all those. Now, the sounds come from the lungs with the pressure, because when the air is built up in the lungs, it ejects with some pressure, and because there are blockages in between, so there's a blockage here, there's another blockage here, there at the teeth, and then there's one more at the lip. So depending on the pressure, depending on the place you block, the pressure builds up, and then they eject sounds, and then those sounds become either voiced or voiceless. The voice sounds are produced when a glottis is closed. So it's closed, and so that the air comes out with a uh, it, it it comes out with some force, and there is some vibration, and the vibration in the vocal folds. You can feel your own sounds when you put the back of the finger, back of your finger at the vocal folds, you and sound and tell something, speak something, sing something, you can feel the vibration. So this is that vibration, and these sounds are, the voice sounds are b, da, g, as in God, d as in dog, ja as in judge, or va as in vice, or da as in this, or ja as in Jew, or ma as in man, or na as in nose, or nga as in king, or ha as in house, or la as in locket, or ra as in rice, or wa as in watch, and ya as in yacht. Now, in all these sounds, in all these cases, these sounds are voiced because the vocal folds are closed, and therefore the air that comes out from the lungs, pulmonic air. Adjective of lungs is pulmonic. Whichever the air, when it comes out of the lungs, it becomes it is the pulmonic air, and that air, when it comes out with force, it results in the vibration of the glottis, and therefore these sounds are voiced. And the voiceless sounds are those which come out freely without any vibrations. So per, for instance, per as in pin, or ta as in token, or cha as in church, or ka as in kite, or fa as in fish, or tha as in think, sa as in suit, or sha as in uh, shirt. Now, in all these cases, these are voiceless sounds because the air from the lungs, pulmonic air, that comes out without any obstruction. It's free. It flows freely out of the mouth, out of the lungs, through the vocal folds and the mouth, and the lips, and therefore they are voiceless. All vowels are generally voiced because when vowels come, there is an obstruction in the vocal folds, and therefore they sound they are voiced. Vowels are voiced, and then they depending on the place of the sound. Each sound is produced at a different place. That's bilabial. When both the lips are used, when the upper and lower lip both are used to generate some sound, they are called bilabial. Labial is the adjective of lips. So bilabial, bi is two. We use both the lips to generate a sound. In fact, the lower lip or the lower jaw, in fact, is moving. The upper jaw and upper lip, that's stationary. So when we produce a sound, the lower lip or the lower jaw keeps moving. And when it goes up and then presses against the upper lip, and the sound is generated, sound is forced out through the mouth. When both the lips are pressed, those are bilabial. So both the lips are in action, and therefore they are bilabial. Bi is two, both, and labial is the adjective of lips. So bilabial. Then, so p, ba, ma, and wa, these are all bilabial sounds, because they both the lips are involved in generating these sounds. Then the second type of sounds are labiodental. Lips, labio is lip, and then dental. One lip and the teeth are engaged in producing certain sounds. They, for instance, a fa. When we say fa, the fa as in fish, as in phone, as in foreign, as in fahian. So this is how they both the organs in generating any sound incidentally. Organs are organs of mouth. Organs of mouth, when I say organs of speech or organs of mouth are used. And so in this case, in labiodental, your lip, one of our lips, and teeth, they are used, and therefore they fall, for instance, when you say fish. So, or when you say phone, or when you say fantastic, or when you say fine, or when we say folly, or when we say rough, as in, that's the end of the. So beginning, initial, medial, and final. In the initial sound, this is phone. In the medial sound is suffer, and the final sound it will be rough or serve. Now that for or that rough or serve, that's the final sound because the for comes there at the end, and that's labiodental. The third kind of sounds, these are dependent on the place of articulation. Whatever place that we use to articulate this sound, they are place of articulation. So they are dental. Teeth are both the teeth, upper and lower jaw, both the teeth, upper and lower jaw, they are engaged in producing sounds, and therefore they produce sounds like tha, as in think, or moth, or the, as in these, or ride. Similarly, alveolar is when the tip of the tongue touches the alveolar ridge, and the tip of the tongue, this touches the alveolar ridge. They give us sounds like t or da or sa and all those. Then post alveolar is when they are behind that. Palatal is when. So maybe this discussing all these in detail may not be as necessary now. In any case, I have shared the resources with you. Whenever you feel like, whenever you feel the need to do that, you can refer to that at your own pace and own time, and then get back to us for any query in case there are any. Then the second kind of thing is manner of articulation. First one is place of articulation. Depending on the place where we use these sounds, where these sounds are generated, there's place of articulation. The second one is the manner of articulation, how they are generated. Plosives, for instance, plosives are those sounds which are generated, which are produced when there's a complete stricture, complete closure of the cavity, and sudden release of this. So the air comes out of the lungs and is ejected forcefully through the mouth, and therefore that there is a vibration, and those sounds come out with explosion, with plosives, explosion. So something like pa. Pa is when you hold the air in your mouth, and then with a pressure, when the pressure is built, you release it suddenly, it becomes a plosive sound, and that's your pa and ba and ta and da and this. Similarly, nasals are those sounds which come out through the nose, through the nostrils, which means the oral cavity is closed. Nasal passage is open, and therefore the sounds come out through the nose. And m, n, g, they are nasal sounds. Then there are fricatives when there is a narrowing between the active and the passive articulators. Active articulator, tongue, for instance, is the active articulator, or the lower jaw is the active articulator. And when you eject the air from the lungs through using these two articulators, then they result in fricatives. And for the sa, ja, then sha, ja, these are all fricatives. Similarly, you have now when we look at the, sorry, give me 1 minute, huh? Okay. And each of these sounds is unique because if you replace one sound with the other, then you get a different word. At the beginning of this lecture, in fact, I gave a couple of examples. If you replace P with F, for instance, in a word like pin or pine, the word is different. Pin and then fin, or pine and fine, or pine and pile, or pine and pill, pin. So this is how there are. If you change a sound, any of the sounds, vowels, consonants, whatever sound you change, one change in one sound results in a different word, which is why, and we call that minimal pairs, which is why each sound is unique in every language, not necessarily in English, in any language, even in Hindi, in Odia, in Bengali, whatever language you use. In a language, when you replace one sound with another sound, I'm not talking of letter, I'm not talking of a word, I'm talking of a sound. If you replace one sound with another sound, the syllable changes, the word changes, meaning changes. And there's a hell lot of difference in the meaning. In many cases, the meanings are so different from the original word that people might maybe pull you up. So that's why it's necessary. It's important to understand each sound, each of these sounds. There are, by the way, 44 sounds in English. I'll come in the next slide and discuss about those sounds. Each of those 44 sounds and how they are how they shape up our words and then sounds, and then when we, and it's not necessarily only sound or word, it's even in a speech also, connected speech. When we talk to somebody, it's not a one word hello and hi. It's a conversation. You greeted me, hi sir, good evening, how are you? I said, thank you, I'm good, how are you? So it's a conversation. It's a string of words. How are you? Good evening. Thank you. So when somebody greets you, when somebody tells you something, where are you going? You say, I'm going to buy vegetables. Now look, I am going to buy vegetables. That's a string of. There are so many words or so many sounds there, which is why it's important to use or to understand or to note each of these sounds in their context, and then use them appropriately so that we are not miscommunicated. Whatever we mean, we get it right. Now, when we tell something to somebody and that person understands us or gets us right, that's what we intend. Our intention is that when I say something, when I convey something, the other person should get exactly the same thing. There shouldn't be a discrepancy between what I say and what he means. It's possible, though. In many cases, it happens. In some cases, though, it happens that I say something and then somebody else gets something else. But then there are our use of phonetic knowledge will help us, will save us from these kinds of embarrassments. When somebody tells us something, we exactly get that. And when we want to convey something, we convey it in such a way that the other person also gets it perfectly right. Now, when you ask your attender in your school to get a, let's say, to get, let us say, okay. Or what do you say? Pull, for instance. So let's say pull this one, pull this rope or pull this table or something. Let's say pull. Now, if he understands it as pull, he will go to your swimming pool. Maybe he will try to go to swimming pool. He say, what are you asking, ma'am? You are asking me to pull something? No, I wanted you to pull this table or pull this drawer or pull this rope or pull something. So that's how it can be embarrassing sometimes. So where that should be pool, for instance. So go to the swimming pool and see if children are still there. Ask them to come out of that because it's already time. It's already 4 o'clock. So that's a pool. But then we can the attender might mistake it to be pull or pool and a fool, for instance. When we aspirate that for with aspirate that becomes a pool. So if you say pool, so maybe you wanted to ask what happened to the pool, or is the pool open, or is there somebody at the pool? He might understand it to be a fool, and he will shout at you. He will say, "What, ma'am, you are asking me? You are telling me fool? I have been working in this school for so many years. Even the manager, even the owner of the school doesn't call me fool, and you told me fool." You say, "No, I never did that. I told you fool." But he would have heard it fool because we aspirated that "po" with like the British accent when they tell it, or when they say it, uh, or in standard English, when we pronounce it, it gets aspirated because of the initial voiceless consonant, because that's the voiceless consonant, and that's accented at the beginning, and therefore he might have heard it as fool. So that's how there are possibilities of things getting distorted or getting miscommunicated. All right. Uh, anybody wanted to say something, or anybody has something to ask, or shall I continue? Yeah, please.
So you can continue, I think.
Thank you. Now, when we somewhere in the just a little while ago, I was talking about articulators. We have we have two kinds of articulators: active and passive. The tongue is the most active articulator. Without the tongue, we can't pronounce a single sound. And maybe the other sound we can produce, like gargling, or maybe whining, but not a proper sound in English or any language for that matter. So tongue is the most active articulator. There are other articulators also. Lips, for instance. By the way, upper lips or upper jaw, as I told you, is still. It's stationary. It doesn't move. The lower jaw or the lower lip, the lower part of the jaw, it keeps moving. And when the lower jaw goes up, the lower lip goes up, it produces sound. The upper jaw is fixed. It doesn't move. So active articulars, the lips are there. Then the soft palate. Soft palate is the just above the in the roof, in the oral cavity or the roof of the mouth. There is a soft part. If you take your tongue there and then feel, there is something very soft. That is soft palate. There is something very hard and rough. That is hard palate. And then beyond that, of course, is the teeth ridge of the teeth, or the gum. We call it gum, or the jaw. So, and then the tongue, and then the glottis. And the passive articulator is a hard palate that it doesn't move. Teeth ridge, it doesn't move. Then the oral cavity, it's stationary. And then the upper jaw. In fact, the entire upper jaw is stationary. And the organs of speech, I had shared with you. Even Professor Datta also shared with us this morning. So when that's a profile picture, that's the image of, that's an image of organs of speech. Side cross section of the organs of speech. Each of the organ, you have the like we have organs of in the when we talk of, let's say, music, we have organs, right? We have harmonium, we have something else, so many organs. Similarly, in our speech also, when we produce speech, they are aided with, they are helped. We produce them, generate them with the help of these organs of speech. So teeth ridge, and then back part of the tongue, front of the tongue, tip of the tongue, blade of the tongue, and then upper teeth, lower teeth, and all those. I will not go into the details of that because that is not relevant now. All we need to understand, all we need to know is that organs of speech are those that aid us in producing sounds, irrespective of whatever sound it is, vowels, consonants, whatever sound, all the organs, some organs somewhere. It's not that all the organs are used everywhere. Some organs are used elsewhere. Some organs are used. Tongue is the most active articulator. That's the common kind of thing. But there are many other organs which may not be used at every place. So therefore, organs of speech are used to generate sounds. And as I told you, somewhere in the middle there are 44 sounds in English. I'll come back to that in a few minutes. All right. Now, when we talk of the sounds, English sounds, we generally divide them into two types, vowels and consonants. Now, vowels are voice sounds. As in the beginning, you saw that because it comes out with an obstruction. There is an obstruction here at the glottis, at the vocal folds, and therefore it comes out with some force, and there is some vibration at the glottis, and they are voice. So some consonants and vowels, most vowels. Similarly, and the vowels, of course, we discussed, we tell them, we describe vowels as pure vowels or monophthongs. They are made up of one single vowel sound. Some vowels are made up of two also. We call them diphthongs. Monophthongs or pure vowels are those single sound, single vowel sound. And diphthongs are made up of two vowel sounds constituted together, and they're combined together. That's a group. It's not that you cannot take away one and put them aside. They are grouped together. They go together. They work together. And it's like our fingers. All the five fingers we have to work. We cannot use one finger at the expense of others. If you want to do something, if you want to lift something, want to do some work, all the fingers have to be in action. Some have less significance, some have more. That's all right. While pulling a string, for instance, while pulling a bow, for instance, pulling an arrow, for instance, thumb and index finger may be of more relevance or more use. But while doing something else, little finger is more useful. While wearing a ring, for instance, ring finger is more important. So that's how some fingers have more importance than others, but then all of them are necessary. Similarly, in producing these sounds, also all the vowel sounds, all the sounds are equally important. And in vowels, monophthongs or single vowel sounds are those which are made up of one single sound. Diphthongs are made up of two, and those two are combined together, like ice cream, I in ice cream, or out or shout in ow, o, a, and u, as in shout, or pair, P-A-I-R, pair, or P-A-R-E, pair, or whatever, P. So that's one more pair, air, or peer, or right, tier 2 city. Bangalore is a tier 2 city. So Coimbatore is a tier 2 city, tier 2 tier, or our tier. Somebody, when we cry, tears roll down. So those tier and here, that's again one more vowel sound. Or poor. I met a poor person, poor. So these are all diphthongs. Diphthongs are made up of two sounds combined together. Then coming to the consonants, consonants are produced with an obstruction of the air passage. When there is an obstruction in the air passage, the result is the consonants. And the consonants, when they are produced, depending on the obstruction, depending on the type of obstruction, the sounds vary. And I also remember having shared with you a document in the resource, in the material, a cardinal vowel chart. In that we talk of vowels, how that's the position of the tongue, when you raise the tongue, when you lower the tongue, and that's how the sounds are produced. There are, out of those 44 sounds, 24 are 20 are vowel sounds, 12 pure vowels or monophthongs, and 8 are diphthongs. So 12 plus 8 is 20, and 24 is consonant sounds. 24 plus 20 becomes 44. And the vowels, when we talk about the vowels, when we talk about these 20 vowels, 12 pure vowels or monophthongs and 8 diphthongs, they are classified based on the movement of the tongue, how the tongue is placed you might recall, I have told you that the tongue is the most active articulator in the speech, in the activity of speech. So it may be pronouncing a single syllable, a single syllabic sound, a monosyllabic sound. It may be giving a speech, but tongue is the most active articulator. And the front vowels are produced when with the front of the tongue raised towards the hard palate. When the tongue rises to the hard palate, front of the tongue rises to the hard palate. That's where we call them front vowels. Back vowels are when the back of the tongue rises to the soft palate or the velum. Soft palate is when you in the oral cavity, when you take your tongue and then you will feel that there is some hard, there is a hard part in the mouth, in the oral cavity. That is what is hard palate, and there is a soft part that is what is called soft palate. And central vowels are produced with the center of the tongue raised towards the oral cavity. So front or the back or the center. Then depending on the height, that was what the part of the tongue. Then depending on the height also, we have closed vowels, half open vowels, and all those. Similarly, depending on the position of the lips, when the lips are rounded or unrounded. Now, when you say bean, for instance, B-E-A-N, bean, or P-E-E-L, peel. When you say peel, the the lips are like this. Lips are flat. They are unrounded. But when you say move, when you say oat, oat. What did you eat today? I ate oat. Now, oatmeal. Oh, so there, O is rounded. And then diphthongs, of course, are produced with the tongue starting at a vowel position and move towards another vowel position. Those are vowels. 20 vowels, 12 pure vowels, 8 diphthongs. Diphthongs are made up of two sounds combined together.
Sir, can you give some, sir? Hi, sir. Good evening.
Yeah,
can you give
evening.
Can you give some examples of?
I'll give yes. In the next slide, I'll give you.
Okay, okay, sir. Monothongs and diphthongs, you said.
Oh, all right.
So if you could give
by
some
the way,
examples.
right now also I can give you off the cuff.
Okay.
So these 12 vowels are long E, as in peel or bean or seal, S-E-A-L, seal. So that's E, long E. Short E is pin, P-I-N, pin, or B-I-T, bit, or S-I-T, sit. Then U, long U as in pool, as in cool, as in school. Then short U is put. He put the bag on the table. Put. So that's short U. And then you have A as in egg or leg. Then you have A as in bag, as in mat, as in cat. That's A. Then weak as in ago, long ago, or about. In the first sound in ago or about, that's the sound I'm talking about. And then you have okay, E, long E, short E, long U, short U, then A, and then A, and then A, okay. And then you have 12.
So is that the schwa that you are talking about? The above sound, the sound like above, against.
Above, ago, about.
Yeah.
The first sound in that.
Yes.
Right. And then as in cart, as in mart, as in smart. That's And then as in box, B-O-X, box, or cop, C-O-P, cop, or as in court, C-A-U-G-S-T, court, or C-O-U-R-T, court. In that sound, that's the co, long O. So this is how these are vowels. And then we have diphthongs, 8 diphthongs. I, so from I you have ice cream or rice or slice, so that's I. And then au is then A as in plate or mate or gate or slate, that's A. Then I and then A, and then oi is as in oil or boil or spoil. He is a spoiled kid, so oil. That's those are 3. And then you have out as in shout or as in mouth, out, and as in o as in no. I don't know him, don't and no. So those are that's another type of sound. So 3 plus 2, 5. And then you have ua as in poor. He is a poor person, poor. Or dare, air as in hair, chair, or dare, or layer. And another in l as in there, there, there. One is there, there. Another is there. So this is how you get 12 diphthongs and 8 diphthongs and 12 monophthongs. Anyway, with examples, I'll give some more. All right. Next, each of these sounds is unique because you cannot replace one with the other. When you replace one with the other, the word changes, meaning changes, then their use also changes, because we don't use some words everywhere. Somewhere we use when you want to call somebody, hi, you don't say how, right? You don't say how. You say hi. Hi, how are you? So first is hi, next is how. We don't say how, and then we don't say hi are you. So that's because there's a specific purpose, there's a specific function, there's a specific role for each of these sounds. And then allophones, when one sound, any of these consonants especially, when we replace one with the other, or when we have another variant of that, that becomes an allophone. So it's a phoneme that changes the sound based on how a word is spelled. So let's say, for example, in a word like let's say okay, tile, tile, tile or time or something. So because the first sound it's it's aspirated, because it's accented, the first syllable is accented, and it's a monosyllabic word, by the way. Time is a monosyllabic word, and because the voiceless sounds are aspirated, that's why time is pronounced as time, ta, ta. So of course not the ta of Hindi, like mat, not the ta of we have tug in English. We have in Hindi we have words like tug or mat, but it's not that ta. It's somewhere between ta and that ta. So it's slightly aspirated. But in the middle word, when it comes in the middle or the end, it doesn't get aspirated. You don't say you don't say, when we say time, that is aspirated. But when we say a word like pronounce a word like meter, we don't say meter. So that ta is not aspirated there. And that's because it doesn't come in an accented, in a place where it's accented. All right. Going good so far?
Yes, sir.
Oh,
Yes, sir.
okay, good. Now when we come to syllables, syllables are the smallest unit. Like when we say in a measurement, when we say measurement of length, mm is the smallest unit. We don't have anything below mm. You have mm, then you have cm, then you have inch, and then you have meter, foot, and then meter. Similarly, in sound, in speech, the syllable is the smallest unit. Is the unit below that you can't go. If you break it down, if you break it up into further, break it down further, it becomes syllable. It doesn't become syllable. It becomes letters. So let's say in a word like let's say coffee. So ka is a sound, is a sound, fa is a sound, and then the last sound is a sound. So there are 4 sounds, but there are syllables, ka and fi, right? There are 2 syllables there, ka, fi. University, u, ni, ver, si, ti, 5 syllables. But in a word like scratch, 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 there is only 1 syllable. So it doesn't depend on the length of the word or the number of letters that a word carries. It depends on how you pronounce, how you break it down. So in a word like union or university, you have 5 syllables. University, you have 5 syllables. But in a word like scratch or strengths, strengths, there is just one single syllable, strengths, because you pronounce it with one breath. You are not breaking. You are not stopping. You are not stopping to take air in and then collect in your lungs and then again doing that, which is why that's a single monosyllabic word. And syllables are made up of consonants and vowels.
Excuse me, sir.
Yes, sir. Yes,
sorry to disturb you. Sir,
no, it's all right.
Sir, is syllable dependent upon the how we pronounce a word? Is it dependent upon the pronunciation of a word?
It is
how
not
do we
dependent.
define the syllable in a word?
Syllable.
Sir, I'm sorry to interrupt you. I just would like to talk about syllables. Like, it's very interesting. I love that. Ma'am, I'll just answer that. Yeah, syllables is basically the way you pronounce the word. For example, if I say umbrella, so the way you are pronouncing. So if you break down that word, umbrella, so there are 3 syllables to it. It's actually called the prosody. That is the stressed amount of stress that you put on a particular word when you are talking.
Thank you. Good.
So is it different for all? I mean, it will be different for everyone?
Yeah. It will be, yes, it will differ in every way, the way we pronounce the word. And that is where the articulation comes into picture. So that is called articulation, the way we are perfect in pronouncing the particular word. So that is considered as syllables, how we stress the particular word, where we need to put the stress. That is very important when we
it may vary from person to person.
It may vary from person to person, but if you talk logically as per the phonetics, as per the law of phonetics, we should know how to moderate the speech and the pitch. That is called prosody, where to stress and where not to stress.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Incidentally, when there was a question, does it differ from person to person? All these are individual way of speaking or pronouncing sounds and words. But then when we talk of standard,
can I just give an input here? This is as per a layman's interpretation of the same. I feel that the number of times your lip position changes or the jaw position basically changes, that is the number of syllables in the word. So probably the breaks that you get, the number of breaks that you get in a word, that is the number of syllable present in a word.
Number of breaks, the way you break down a word.
Yes.
Not the movement of the jaw, not the movement of the jaw and all those.
Yeah, so the word sun is a single syllable word.
That's right.
This is what my understanding. Yes.
Yeah,
and
very
then
good. Thank you.
Say, so that is it.
Good. It's interesting. And one more input. Whatever ma'am said, one more thing also I may add here. There was a question. There was somebody sought some clarification, telling that does it differ from person to person? All these are individual way of speaking or pronouncing. But then when we talk of English, when we talk of standard English, there's a benchmark. All of us must aspire to pronounce in that way. It's a different thing whether we reach to that, or whether we succeed in that, or to what extent we succeed. That's a different issue altogether. But basically, there is a benchmark, and yes, we must aspire to reach to this. Since aspiring for the British English or the native English, RP, we call it received pronunciation of England, since reaching that would be maybe utopian concept kind of thing. But then, well, whatever we speak is good English, and there is standard English, which clarifies all these things, which irons out all these things, so that you speak, I speak, at least there is some commonality between that. It's not that my English is better than yours or yours is worse than somebody else's. It's basically that there is a benchmark, and all of us reach to some level where we say, yes, this is what it means. It's like this. When we talk of let's say when you talk of what, anything, let's say electrical fittings at home, right? Now there are hundreds of things, hundreds of brands available. But what do? We say, okay, if I want to buy this thing, let me buy Havels or Bajaj. Not that others don't work. Anchor is there. There are so many other brands are there. But when we talk of that, we try to plan and then say, okay, this is the best brand. This has got the best review, and Havels fans last longer. Havels lights give more light, and therefore we use Havels things. So that's how. Here also that's a benchmark, that's a standard, and we must use a benchmark. And therefore, when you speak something, I speak the same thing. Even though there might be variations, even though there might be difference in terms of the accent or different in terms of the sound quality, but at least for somebody to understand that yes, they are talking about this is all we need. So you speak, I speak, whatever we speak, there has to be some commonality. Somewhere we have to reach to a consensus and then say, this is what we are talking about. This is how this sound is produced. This is how this is intonated, or this is where we put the rhythm, or this is where this consonant is pronounced this way, or this word, this syllable is stressed or accented here. So that's it. It's okay. Quality wise, it might change. Yours might change from mine. Mine might change from somebody else's. But yes, as long as we are on the same page, that yes, we mean this, or we are pronouncing this, or we are telling this, and if somebody understands that with some basic knowledge, we are not even talking to the Queen of England. We are not even talking about the Queen of England. As long as anybody, a lay person also, a layman also, because most of teachers are women today. Therefore, I did not say layman. I say lay person. Other days you will say, sir, what about us? We are not men. So that as long as we understand, as long as you and I understand whatever somebody speaks, that's perfect. We are not talking. We are not aspiring for something that should be Queen's English, right? That's an aspirational thing that we may not reach, and we need not. We need not. Whatever we are comfortable with, whatever we are okay with, whatever people are able to follow, that's all right. As long as we meet these expectations, that's all right. Now, there was one more small doubt. The knowledge of dividing the words into syllables. This When we break down a word into syllables, it helps us in so many ways. Number one, it improves the reading skills. When we read, syllable break, because we don't read one syllable at a time, one word at a time. We read in chunks. So when whatever our eyes can catch, whatever portion our eyes can catch, we grasp that and then read that much. And it may be one line, maybe three lines, maybe one line before, one line after, and the same line, or it may be just one line. Or some people even have the habit of running their fingers along the line. So, but that's not standard reading practice. Reading practice is when without running your fingers across the page, across the lines, you should be able to read, and without even moving your head from left to right and up down. So, whatever one chunk we see at a time. Those many words or syllables or whatever is there, that much we should be able to read. That's one. Second thing is pronounce new and hard words, names, and all those. We should be able to pronounce them. And the syllable break helps us in pronouncing words and then sounds. And then that's why if somebody says something president, we say, okay, president, because that it's pronounced, the first syllable is accented, and so it's become president. But in a verb, if something else is used as a verb precedes, for instance, there, so the second syllable is accented. So that way you can find out that, okay, putting the accent in the first syllable is this, or we put this accent in the second syllable, and this is how words are broken. Then the third advantage is, third way it helps us, one more way it helps us in, that is we pronounce vowels clearly, that all the E and U and all those vowels, those 12 plus 8, 20 vowels, we pronounce clearly without mixing them up. There might be, it might appear that there are no difference between long E and short E, but then when I say peel and pill, there's a huge gap. Or when I say piece and fish, That's a huge gap. So therefore, we should be clear about the sounds that we pronounce. And last, of course, spell the word correctly. When we break the word into syllables, it also helps us in breaking down the in spelling the word correctly. If somebody said temperature, so we say temp, and then no, tem, then p, and then ray, and then char. So that's how we the syllable break helps us in giving the word in helping us getting the spelling right. Syllable, of course, it there are in let's say monosyllabic words which are just single syllable words. Pun, for instance, even pun, for instance, is one syllable, or strength, as I said, is a long, a big word, but then it's one syllable, monosyllabic word, strength. In those cases, it's all right. But in a even in small cases, in binary, for instance, it's a small word, but there you have two syllables, binary, right? Three. Similarly, you have house, one syllable, but you have something like homely, so you have two syllables. So this is how, depending on how you break or where you break, that will give you clue of the of forming the word and pronouncing the word, and also will eventually help you in reading and getting the reading the book, reading the page or whatever, or getting the spellings right, or pronouncing that word or those words, and even vowels. I'm sorry. And when we talk of syllables, there are the syllable structure, the optimal syllable structure that we can get in English is C, three C's, C for consonants, three C's, one vowel, and then again four C's. That's the optimal that we can get in English. The single syllable C, for instance, would be a single, sorry, say V would be, for instance, I. This is my I, or I got a, or my eyes are red. So I is one syllable, one vowel, single vowel. Or VC would be, let's say, all or up. He is up the tree. So up. There's one consonant, one vowel, one consonant. Similarly, you have C, let's say three consonants, one vowel and four consonants, and three consonants. Scramble, for instance, SCR. Those are three vowels. Those are three consonants. Then A as in apple. So that's vowel, and again three more consonants. Scramble. Or if you put an S, plural, or sorry, makes it third person singular, S. That's four C's. So three C's, C, V, and then C, four C's. C for consonant. So you can have a maximum structure of CVC, three C's, one V, and then four C's. Three C's would be in this word I gave you, scrambles, for instance. So scrambles, you have S, C, R. So S, K, R. Those are three vowels, those consonants. A is your vowel, and four consonants again. So M, B, L, J, scrambles. So that's that's the consonant, syllable consonant, the consonant and vowel coming together, forming syllables. CV, CVC. So CV, CC, or only CC. But there are very few words, rarely very few words like wine, for instance. No, WYN. So those are very few rare words which are only consonants. Otherwise we have to have a vowel and a consonant to have a word, to have a syllable. It can have one vowel, two vowels, five vowels, or one consonant, five consonants, but there has to be a mixture or combination of both vowels and consonants. All right. Now, when we talk of the stress, how to put stress, where to put stress, those are accent, word stress or word accent. The accent is basically the emphasis that we put on a particular syllable or a word. If it's a monosyllabic word, that happens to be that syllable. So when we put an emphasis on a part of a word or a syllable, that is what is called accent or stress, word stress. Now, a word stress makes a word stand out from the others. When you are making a sentence, you are telling something, so something is stressed, and there is regular at regular intervals of time we stress, in English especially, other languages, we don't have this rigid rule. As far as English is concerned, there is a spacing between. It takes almost the same time between stressed syllables and subsequent stressed syllables, so that when it's like this. When in primary school, in nursery school, for instance, we tell a nursery rhyme for any nursery rhyme, for instance, twinkle twinkle little star. Now, when you say twinkle twinkle little star, now twinkle twinkle little star, there are four. Right? We have four accents. Twinkle, twinkle, little star. How I wonder what you are. Now, how I wonder. You have number of words is more in the second line, but it takes almost the same amount of time as the first one, which is why it gives us the uniformity of time. And time, when I say, I'm not concerned about, I'm not talking about about minutes and hours. It's maybe it's millisecond, or one by 10th part of a second. And you might ask me, sir, well, heavens are not going to fall if we are late by a second or a millisecond. No, it's okay. Heavens are not going to fall. But when there's a difference between these lines, when you don't take as much time to read, to to tell the second line as the first line too, then you won't get the rhythm. You won't get the perfect rhythm, and there'll be a break, and which will lead to monotony. So in order to get a rhythm, accent rhythm, and the word stress, and then next unit is the accent and stress. When you talk of accent and rhythm, it gives you that sense, how you transit from one word or syllable to the next one, how much time you took, and the entire line, how much it took, so that it almost is similar to, almost exactly, may not be exact in terms of milliseconds or nanosecond, but yes, it almost takes that much time to use another line of similar number of syllables, and therefore it's imperative for us to now this example. Let's see this example. Twinkle twinkle little star, how I wonder what you are. Twinkle twinkle, there are four words here. Twinkle twinkle little star. In the second line we have how I wonder what you are. There are six, but then that also takes the same amount of time, and that's because we say, listen to me when I say twinkle twinkle little star, how I wonder what you are. Now, how I becomes one syllable. It almost takes that much time. That twinkle and how I, and then wonder. You are putting the stress on wonder, not on I, and therefore how I wonder. And then what you are, what, and then what you is one, and then are. So that's how it takes almost the same amount of time. Uh, And when you break it down, it also gives you that four units. In the first line, you have twinkle, twinkle, little star. And the second line also, you have four units, four blocks. So how I wonder what you are. And this is how we get four similar number of units. And when we put the put the stress on a word, that makes it stand out from the rest. One sound, one word, one syllable, that syllable that stands out from the rest. And it gives you, it also determines whether it's a verb or a noun. Most of the adjectives and nouns are stressed in the first syllable, and most of the verbs are stressed in the second or subsequent syllables. So the same word, if you use the same word both as noun and verb, if you want to distinguish, if you want to make use one as a noun, it will be like, let's say prefer, for instance. Okay, prefer verb. So I prefer coffee to tea. I like coffee more than I like tea. So I prefer. But then preferred. In the first, if you say this is the preferred mode of, Ola is the preferred mode of commute in cities. So there, prefer is as an adjective, preferred mode. And therefore, the mode is noun, so preferred is adjective there. So prefer is there, is stressed in the first syllable. But in the I prefer coffee to tea, is in the second syllable. And that's how you can make out the difference between nouns and adjectives as one unit, and otherwise the other part is verbs. Okay. So the okay. So far is all right so far. There's no issue, no questions, or no point to discuss. Yes. Okay. Right. Now, when they somewhere also I remember having mentioned something like rhythm. Ma'am was also talking about that thing, that accent and the rhythm and all those. When we and by the way, this rhythm is also a necessary thing for any language, not necessarily English. Though it's more relevant and more useful in English than in other languages. Other languages we're not worried about the phonology and pronunciation and accent and all those, which is why we may ignore. We can afford to ignore, but in English we can't. Rhythm gives us the tempo, the flow, and so when you tell something, it gives you a soothing effect, so that you feel like, okay, I love listening to this. So when somebody like, let's say, somebody like, I don't know whether you have heard these commencement lectures. In most of the universities in the US, they have commencement lectures. When their sessions begin, people join, they have commencement lectures, or presidential inaugural speeches, or Nobel acceptance lectures. If you listen to them, you will see, invariably you will see that there's a pattern there. Though they're depending on their mother tongue, depending on their native influence, depending on the influence of their mother on other things, it might vary. There might be differences, but yes, there's a pattern in the speech, in the flow. So there's a rhythm there. When they speak, ladies and gentlemen, so they will say, ladies and gentlemen, at the outset, let me thank all of you, thank the Nobel Committee for having given me the Nobel Prize for Physics in this year. I know it's a huge responsibility on my part. No, that's how they start. So when you listen to that, you feel that there's a rhythm. That's yes. That's a it's like uh, it's not monotony. Ladies and gentlemen, I am going to talk. It's not that. It's something like, you look at, you see the variation. Ladies and gentlemen, good evening to everybody. Let me at the outset thank all of you for having invited me to this August gathering. I also must thank the Nobel Committee for having chosen me to confer on me the Nobel Prize for Physics for 2019. I know it's a huge responsibility, and that's how they do. So that you feel that, okay, there's a tempo, there's a rhythm. Otherwise, it will be very monotonous, very dull. You won't even feel like listening. You say, come on, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to. I have some other commitments. I'm not going to listen to this. And the rhythm also helps us in not only speaking our things, telling our things with a tempo, with a flow, with an impact. Also, weak forms help us in doing that. How do they do? When I talk of weak forms, there are some words which are both strong and weak forms. But when we use them in a line or a sentence, some of the words get elided. Maybe they lose their weight. They lose their weight. So they become very weak. Something like N, for instance. We don't say N. I ate an apple. We don't say we say I ate an apple. So 8 and N, that 8 and N, they become almost like one word. I ate an apple. Or give me some time. So give me some time. Nobody says give me some time. We say give me some time. Give me some time. So there those sounds, those and some and then the and his and her and their and our, been and can. All these are weak vowels, weak sounds. So they weaken because of their weakness. because they become weak, they try to accommodate one more syllable in between them. And then that's how we say, give me some time. Now we say, give me. We don't say, give me some time. We say, give me. That give and me also becomes give me. And then some also becomes weak. So give me some time. And their time only becomes the, you hear that clearly. You don't hear maybe as strongly as time. The other sounds like give and then me and all those. So time you hear. And that's how you know, okay, he's asking for time maybe. So that's how weak sounds, weak syllables, weak sounds, or weak forms of words of and all those conjunctions and then, right? Articles. So determiners, by the way, determiners, conjunctions, and all these, they help us in shaping the rhythm. So that when we say the fluency also increases, then the flow increases, then it becomes smooth, and when we speak, it sounds musical. It sounds musical. Otherwise, it'll be like horse. It'll be like when somebody speaks something, you'll say, oh, he's barking. You don't say he's speaking or telling. When you listen to a good speech, you say, wow, beautiful talk. He gave a nice talk. He gave a good speech. But when you somewhere sometimes you say he was barking. I didn't hear a single syllable. I didn't get a single sound. I didn't follow a single word. That's because he didn't have rhythm. He didn't have weak vowels. Weak sounds, syllables. He didn't follow the patterns to make the speech flow smoothly, and especially in connected speech. I'm not talking of independent isolated sounds. When isolated sounds, you can say somebody says good morning, you say hi, or you say somebody says thank you for this, you also say thank you. Those are isolated independent sounds. I'm not talking of that. I'm talking of connected speech. In a speech, when somebody tells you something and then you tell something else, there we talk of this connected speech. In connected speech, this rhythm is an important phenomenon. Weak sounds, then weak forms, and then syllables, and then rhythm, accent, and rhythm. So they play a major role and make us understand, make us get what it takes. So that when you tell something like let's say uh, hi, somebody like let's say morning you parent teacher meet, let's say parent teacher meet. When you greet the parents and on the parent teacher meet, final maybe on the day you give results to their kids. Now what do? You say hi, everybody, good morning. It's lovely to see you, or see all of you here. Right? Thank you all for having joined us for PTA meeting. It's good to see all of you together on a sunny Sunday morning. Thank you for having taken your valuable time off your schedule on a Sunday, on a lazy Sunday afternoon, and willing to join, kind of thing. So that boosts their spirit, that lifts their morale. Otherwise, you'll say, okay, it's good that you have come. Wait a moment, wait for an hour. We'll get back to you. People will say, what nonsense they are talking. They are talking nonsense. But if you even if you don't offer anything, even if you don't promise anything, don't promise the moon, they will still love it, because the way you greet them, the way uh, you tell them, they feel that he's talking to this principal, or these people are talking to me personally. I am. So ladies and gentlemen, it's so good to see all of you together here on a Sunday morning, right? So we know it's difficult for you to have commuted or travel all the way to this place on a Sunday morning, leaving all your assignments. But then we also know that you care for your children. We know that you are anxious to see the results of your kids, and we will not take more time. Maybe give us another 5 minutes and we will display the results. We will call the names of the kids and then give them the results. And we also promise that you will not be disappointed. So kind of thing. Now they will feel, they will think that, okay, you are promising something, and they will maybe wait with bated breath. So that's it, right? All right. One more unit, and then I will wind up, and then we will open the floor for questions. And let's try to understand how this is of course a small unit, intonation. When you talk of rhythm and accent and stress and all those, intonation also plays a major role. When you rise and fall, and then we have four kinds of intonations. But then basically when you, it's very simple. The type, of course, before intonation, it's also necessary for us to understand what it refers to, what it means. Intonation refers to the melodic pattern of an utterance in phonetics. When you pronounce with melody, that's what leads to intonation. And of course, it's a matter of change in pitch, the voice and the pitch and the timing and all those. And depending on what you wish to express, the function also changes. There are basically three types of functions of intonation. The first one is attitudinal. What's your attitude? You are angry, you are happy, you are greeting somebody, you are stopping somebody. So that's function, attitudinal function. Second is the grammatical function. It helps us to identify the grammar, to know what you are talking about, to identify the type of phrase or the sentence. One is a question, it's a request, it's a permission, it's a bland statement. So that's the function, grammatical function. And third is the discourse function. That, of course, discourse what you mean, your intention. When in sometimes it's possible that we tell something, but the other guy might understand it as something else, and that's where a miscommunication happens. So when you show your index finger at somebody and then say, "This is what you did," that person might feel offended. But then without showing your index finger, if you tell something like this, I suspect you did this. I don't know. I'm not sure. But I suspect you did this. He or she may not take it as an offense. That's because you are not pointing your finger at him or her. But intonation has a different function. When you raise it, you say, who did it? Now there you are asking as if there is one person standing beside you, and you are asking. So the other person might misconstrue to be as you are maybe charging him or her. But you ask in a flat tone, something like, "Oh, who did it? I don't know who did it." Now that will not offend him or her, right? So therefore, intonations have three basic functions. Then there are four types of intonation. One is the falling tone. When you fall, like something like, let's say, something like, I don't know how he did it. Now that's a falling tone. But then who is there who can say no to me? Now that's a rising tone. You are asking maybe with somebody to maybe accusing somebody of something. Who is there? So maybe you are suspecting that somebody is hiding behind the wardrobe and doing something. So maybe you are shouting and the pitch is high, the tone is high. So maybe trying to pull him out of the cover. But then when you say, I don't know, that's a falling tone. So you are not accusing somebody. You are maybe telling somebody, so that even if that kid is hiding behind the wardrobe, he or she might come out. Okay, I was just joking. I was just playing hide and seek kind of thing. I don't know how you will take it. So that's falling tone is something like common in statements. So something like, these people are laying these roads for months. Now that's a statement. That's the example of falling tone. Another can be a command. Go here, go there and fetch me a glass of water. That's a command. So principal might uh, send an attendant to call the driver or HR. So go and call the HR now. So that's a command. Or another thing could be something like asking a confirmatory questions. So somebody asks you something and then you say, "Oh, is it?" Or maybe something like question tag. You were traveling by bus the other day, weren't you? So that's a confirmation. You are asking for confirmation, and that's how that gives us that thing we used to convey with the help of a falling tone, falling intonation, and the rising
Sir,
intonation is some. Yes, sir. Yes.
sir, is it asking is always asking or commanding? Does it mean always a rising tone, or it can be a falling tone in some cases?
Ask, commanding.
For example, go there, as you said, go there. Is it always a rising tone, or is it a falling tone also at times?
In most cases it's falling, but sometimes if you are not happy with that person and you want him to, because you have asked him to do something 3 times and he has not done that, there you may rise that.
So it is circumstances, I mean, like how the circumstances,
Right.
according to that it is.
But in most cases it's falling. That's example I gave you, except on something like you have asked your driver 3 times, maybe 3-4 times to do something, and he has not done that, and in that case you say, go and do this now. So that will be rising.
Okay.
Because you are showing your anger, you are showing your frustration. But the first time you say, go and call him. Now that will be falling, because that he has not. You have not seen that person not obliging your command or something even once. But once you do that 3-4 times, maybe even second and subsequent time, second time also maybe you are okay, but third time onward you say, I asked you to do this, didn't I? So there maybe you will be rising it, and rising will be something like very, you raise your pitch, and then you are angry, you show your anger, you show your frustration, you show your disgust.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Okay. And then of course rise fall, and also fall rise. Rise fall is something like we use in conditional sentences. Yeah, I wanted to go, but something happened. Or I can come there if you come, if you join me. So somebody, it's a conditional thing. In conditional thing, you say rise and fall. I will go, but you have to come. So that's a rise and fall. Fall rise would be something like a polite request or suggestion. Shall we go there today? Shall we watch a movie? So that's a suggestion. So you fall first. Shall we go? And then you rise. And then shall you go for a movie? So you fall and then rise. That's a suggestion where you know that the other guy may not turn down, may not say no. Though you are not forcing. You are not forcing your way through. You are not imposing your will. You are not insisting on something. But then you know that the other person will not say no. So you say, "Shall we watch a movie today?" So there it's though it's it's suggestive. You know that it's also almost like making somebody agreeing to you. Okay. Now quickly, yes. Anything else? So those 24 consonants and 20 vowels, 24 consonants, that p, b, t, d, k, g, p as in pine, b as in bit, t as in time, k as in king, p, b, t, d as in day, then p, b, t, d, k as in king, g as in goat. Okay, then ch as in match or church, then ja as in judge, then for as in favor, va as in vice principal, so vice, then tha as in think or thought, then the as in deed, then sa as in sun, sha then ja as in Jew, then sha as in shine, 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 or mesh, mesh, or fish. So sha, then ja as in pleasure or measure, then ha as in house, then ma as in mango, na as in night, unga as in king, la as in lotus, ra as in rice, wa as in watch, ya as in yell. So those are consonants. Coming to vowels, you have long e as in peel or meal, then short e as in bill, 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 then as in egg or peg, leg, or then long u as in pool or cool, then short u as in put, put, then a as in cat, then a as in cart, then o as in cop, cop, or box, box, then a long o as in court, court, or caugst, court. He caught me red-handed, so that's caught. And then you have, I think we have covered everything. Long e, short e, u, yeah. And then you have diphthongs, 8 diphthongs. So all those I gave examples of. So those are, and then you have stress, word stress or accent, and then you have rhythm, accent and rhythm in connected speech, and then you have intonation. Then you have weak forms in syllables and weak forms. And then you have, then also, we also covered how to stress word, how to pronounce word, how to the minimal pairs, and then how intonation helps, what are the functions of intonation, and minimal pairs, how replacing one sound with another can play havoc, and then syllable and stress, so syllable time, stress time, and then that's all from my side. In case there are any questions, I'll be happy to take, and ma'am also is there, she can help you out. Yes, please. If there are no questions, then there are two possibilities. Either everything is clear, so clear, crystal clear that there is no doubt left. Alternatively, it's blank as the night sky. I don't know which one we did, but in any case, let's. Any question, any suggestion, any issue? And for the test, most of the questions we'll ask only from this syllabus. We'll not ask anything from outside, and therefore don't get panicky. It's a small, simple test. I think Professor Dutt would have told you 25 MCQs, and I think 60% is what you should get to pass. And in case you somehow, for whatever reason, you can't manage, then I think you can write once more, right? That, ma'am? That's right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Right. Yeah. Yes. Any question? Any doubt? Any query? Any issue?
Is there any questions from your end? Anybody, any questions? Anybody, any question?
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. As there seems that no question from the esteemed participants for today's session, so we can consider that no, all have understood whatever sir has explained. And once again, on behalf of MTC Global, we extend a warm welcome to all of you to having participated for today's session for 2 hours, last 2.5 hours, and it has been a wonderful session. My special thanks and gratitude to today's trainer, coach, mentor, or colleague, whatever name you call it, Dr. Arun Behera sir. It was a wonderful session. I also extend my heartfelt thanks to Dr. Paramita Chaudhuri, who was the co-trainer for today's session. And thanks all of you for your time and this Saturday afternoon. And it was indeed a wonderful learning session for me. I was there listening to Sir's the talk. It was a lot of learning for me personally as well. And thank you, St. Patrick's, and for rolling out the program. And we also have some plan to roll out training for no IELTS, TOEFL, what Dr. Arun Behera sir has suggested. So possibly in the coming days, we'll roll out those program as well. So you are most welcome to join the programs. If you have any questions or any queries, you are free to mail us at president no at knowledgecafe.co.in. And thank you so much once again for your benign presence for this afternoon. It has been a wonderful session. And thank you, Dr. Arun Behera sir. I was
Thank you,
mentioning.
sir.
Thank you so much. It has been a lot of learning for me as well. I was there throughout, and
Thank
I
you.
also learned many things. Learning continues, and English, no today, no as a subject, it has a lot of demands, and we don't find expertise in English. We find a lot of expertise in other discipline, but
Sir, I
English.
have my one book, spoken English book, has been released just now online.
Wonderful.
Ebook. I'll share with you the link, and you can
Definitely.
share with all our peers and colleagues, and then they will benefit from this. This
Yes.
Amazon has published. I'll share with them.
One more
Thank
thing,
you.
sir. The IPA chart, if you could share with us, it helps us to understand those symbols and the phonemes and all. So it gets easier for us to relate to what has been taught today. The IPA you have shared is a little vague, actually, not very clear.
I think ma'am is talking about IPA chart
Yeah, the IPA chart. Yeah.
with the symbols of the syllables.
Correct. The vowels and the consonants, all the symbols. Yeah. Along with the monophones and the diphthongs.
Okay. So yeah, I think a lot of echoes. I'll request whatever. It is a lot of echoing. Whatever things you require, kindly please post in the WhatsApp group, and we'll see to it that it is sent to all of you.
Sure. I'll do that.
Thank you so much. Thank you once
Thank you,
again,
sir.
Arun Behera sir. Thank you so much. Namaskar to
Thank
all of
you.
you. So let us
Namaskar.
call off. Thank you so much. Happy
Thank
journey to
you.
Coimbatore, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, ma'am.